Sometimes a rifle cartridge is too fast for its own good. Is it true that a bullet can move so fast that it shoots through an animal before it has time to expand? We're going to find out on this episode of Ron Spomer Outdoors. Well, I hear this fairly often, even from guides and outfitters. The 7mm Remington Magnum is no good. Don't bring it. Worst possible cartridge in the world. It's too fast. The bullets zip right through the game, and they don't have time to open up. That doesn't quite sound right to me. But if that's the problem, why don't they complain about the 300 Winchester Magnum? Because that pushes a 150 grain bullet 200 feet per second faster than a 7mm mag. So maybe it's not the speed. And if speed were the problem, why did so many people, and still so many people, buy, shoot, and love the 7mm Remington Magnum? And if it's too fast to function properly in terminal ballistics, why did we come up with faster ones after it came out? We've got the 7mm STW that throws about 200 feet per second faster. And then we've got the 26 Nosler, which is 300 or 400 feet per second faster. And the 7mm Remington Ultra Magnum. I mean, if this thing was too fast to be effective, why did they bother to make this faster ones? It just doesn't make sense. And here's the way you have to reason this stuff. Speed is a product of energy. Mass, that's the bullet's weight, and speed are what give it its energy. Kinetic energy is energy in motion, and obviously that's what a bullet is. So the heavier that bullet, the more energy it's going to carry, so potentially the harder it should hit. But if you don't throw it fast enough, it's just going to bounce off. So is it true that it can go too fast? I don't think so. It just doesn't make any sense. The theory is that the bullet needs time to expand. But bullets don't expand by time. They expand with energy, force. And it can be something striking the bullet, or it can be the bullet striking something. And I always compare it to hitting a bullet sitting on an anvil or on the sidewalk with a hammer. Take a light little ball-peen hammer and hit the top of that bullet, and it will expand a little bit. Take a sledgehammer and hit that bullet, it's going to expand a lot more. Mass, velocity, all that stuff makes the bullet expand. Well, the same thing happens in game. When you hit the shoulder or even behind the shoulder, the more resistance you meet, the more it's going to expand that bullet. And the faster the bullet's going, the more energy it has, and it's going to expand. But then there's also the type of bullet, the construction. Different bullets obviously are going to expand at different rates. And you can go from a varmint bullet, which essentially explodes. It just comes to pieces. Or you can get a solid, which not supposed to expand at all. And that will zip right through without expanding. But bullets that are designed for expansion on deer and elk and all the game that we hunt for meat, those are supposed to expand at a controlled rate. The problem is, with all the variety of cartridges and the velocities at which we throw those bullets, we don't necessarily get every one of them to expand the way they should or the way we want them to. And we also have to recall that at distance, all these bullets are slowing down. At some distance, that 300 Win Mag is going to be going as slowly as a 30-30 at a closer range. And yet some people will say, well, it's just so much harder hitting at 500 yards and the 30-30 is at 100 or something. And that's a little bit crazy too. So you have to take all that into perspective. Now, one of the ways that I have come up with to illustrate this, aside from my hammer hitting the bullet idea, are some photographs that I took of bullet performance inside of wax. You've all probably seen, well, the videos of that ballistic gelatin with the bullets passing through, and you see that partway in there's that big release of energy, and it makes a temporary cavity inside that gelatin, and then it sort of tapers down and the bullet passes on out or gets stuck in the ballistic gelatin. That's kind of what we have here, and we're going to flash some pictures up. I've got to look at them on my screen right here, and the first one I want to pull up, I've called it Varmint bullet penetration. And years ago, I did this test with various Varmint bullets, and you can see on this picture, we've got 4 of them with the notes explaining what they are and how fast they were going. and the depth of the cavities. But notice, they're all starting in from the bottom. That's where the bullet entered. And within an inch or less, and I think I have it written, yep, I've got the penetration down as that first number. So like on the Berger 45 grain Varmint bullet at 3,600 feet per second, if there was ever a bullet going too fast to open, this would probably be it. And yet we got 1 3/4 inch cavity at just 1 3/4 inches of depth into the material. This is a wax test tube. It was called a bullet test tube, and it was a softish wax that was just about ideal for doing this. So what you see with all of these is that the bullet begins to expand almost the instant that it strikes. Look at the Hornady 55 grain SX. That's the second one from the right. That thing is opening the minute it strikes that cardboard container before it even gets into the wax. They just open immediately because maximum energy. Maximum velocity means maximum energy. That hammer is smashing that bullet. Now you might say, well, these are varmint bullets. That doesn't count. Now you're getting to the essence of this whole argument. It's not the velocity of the bullet so much as the construction of the bullet with the velocity. They're all going to have their maximum opportunity to expand when they're at their maximum velocity and maximum energy. The deeper they go through the medium, the more they slow down, and that's less energy to open them up. So they've got to start opening quickly. Now, obviously, they can't be fully open the instant they strike. So they've got to go in a little ways. Let's look at some other ones. This is, again, a varmint bullet, but I changed the velocities, and this is pretty educational. We've got a Sierra 55 grain Blitz King bullet, and on the top, you'll see that it's 3,500 feet per second, and you can see what happened. The bullet exploded as usual. You've got that cavity, got all the fragments of lead and jacket material in there that cause all that hemorrhaging, and then the bullet stopped. The remnants of the bullet at any range, they stopped. What did I say? 6 1/8 inches of penetration. The cavity is 2 inches in diameter. So we've got that bullet slowed down in the next one, and the one on the bottom, I loaded it down so that it would strike at only 2,207 foot-pounds. It looks like I've got my little white-headed visitor to come up again. You're ready to go outside. I know, Cubby. You weren't supposed to be in this video. You've got your own video coming, you know. Yeah, you're going to be the star of all your hunting videos this fall. So why don't you just leave us alone for a while, because we're talking about bullets again. Yeah, I know. You want to go. We'll get there. Excuse that dog for me there, guys. So back to that Sierra at 2,207 feet per second. Now we've got a slower bullet. And if you're thinking slow helps, it's going to spend more time in the medium because it's going more slowly. Look at that expansion. Hardly got any. That's the problem with slow. Even though it's a frangible bullet, you saw what it does at velocity. It's not expanding nearly that much. Now, some of that expansion cavity is what we would call a temporary cavity from the pressure. The bullet strikes and falls apart and blows apart, and that, of course, scatters pieces all over. But you've got that energy exploding like that. Well, with animal tissue, it's elastic enough that it'll come back. Lung tissue, muscle tissue, it goes, warps out and comes back together. So you don't get nearly as much damage as we think we do from that temporary wound channel. It's the physical touching of the bullet that really causes a hemorrhaging. So we're going to go to another one now with some big game bullets, and this one's a real eye-opener. And I think we'll go with these 4 depths. Now, we do have one varmint loading here. That's the one on the left. That's that short little 223 WSSM. And typical performance. The bullet starts to open within a fraction of an inch of penetration. It explodes. The remnants move on for about 6 inches and it's over. But the next one up is a 300 WSM with a 180 grain PowerPoint bullet. Now, that is a cup and core bullet. And you can see it stop just into that second tube. These tubes are about a foot long. And I think we shot these at 25 yards, if I remember properly. But at any rate, they're all consistent. They're all at the same distance. So this one, as you can see, penetrated about 13 inches. You got a pretty significant cavity, but look at the very base where it started in. It did not take that bullet very long, even though it's going at 3,000 feet per second when we launched it. Didn't take it long to start opening. And the next one over, that longer one, is a 30-06 180 grain bullet. This is a really serious big game bullet. XP3, that is a really hard controlled expansion bullet that Winchester made for quite a few years. It was probably their best serious controlled expansion bullet. It had some lead locked into it. It had a copper hollow in the nose. It had a polymer tip on it to start the expansion. Those things really penetrated well. I took quite a few species of big game with them, and they can perform, but they're famous for penetration. They're designed for penetration, but you've got, as we said earlier, you've got to have some expansion with your penetration or we'd all be shooting solids. But look at how far that bullet penetrated out of a 30-06, and look at how narrow the wound channel is. But it still started opening as soon as it entered that wax medium. This maximum is about 4 inches, maybe 5 inches in. You've already got maximum expansion. And as the bullet is slowing down, does it suddenly start to expand more and do more damage? No, just the opposite. It just makes a narrow channel until it finally runs out of gas and stopped right there at the end. Almost made it through. Well, this next one did make it through. We had to put 3 tubes in there to catch it. And this is the 300 Winchester short magnum, same as the bronze one, the second from the left. And it's also shooting a 180 grain bullet. The difference here is even though the velocities are the same and the bullet weight is the same, the bullet construction is different. This is the XP3 bullet on top of a bigger charge of powder. So there's where you're getting the difference. You got a little bit more penetration, a little bit wider wound channel on that one, but once again, the bullet started opening immediately. I don't know. To me, this pretty much proves the point, and I think we can even take it down to rimfires. I think I've got a picture in here with some rimfires, which is a little bit of an eye-opener. Here it is. You've got a velocitor, hypervelocity at 1,440 or 35 feet per second, 40 grain hollow point. We would think, for a 22, that's probably pretty punchy, pretty powerful, going to make a pretty big wound channel. The next one's a Winchester PowerPoint, 40 grain hollow point bullet, but that's only going around 1,250 feet per second, if I remember right. And then we have a 22 short, and that's not doing maybe 1,000 or 900 feet per second with a 30 grain solid probably. So you're not getting much of any expansion out of that one. But look at the expansion channels between that velocitor and the PowerPoint. Both those hollow points, they both started opening awfully quickly, almost immediately. Didn't open much, just a little 22 bullet, but they did expand like the hollow points generally do. The Winchester, even though it was a lower velocity, must have a softer lead or a bigger hollow or something in it that made it expand just a tiny bit more than the faster velocitor. So I think that even proves that a little 22 going that slowly is expanding pretty much immediately upon striking. So I think we can give up this idea of a bullet needing to go slowly so that it can open up. They just don't open up over time. It's energy, it's force, it's what we've all talked about. So get the bullet that matches your anticipated impact velocity, and I think that will do the best for you. Don't assume that your cartridges are going too fast and a bullet's not going to have time to open. Just doesn't work that way. I think even a meteorite from outer space going 100,000 miles an hour would probably open up if it landed on a substantial chunk of rock like planet Earth. Let's hope it doesn't. Hey, this is Ron Spomer. I again want to thank our patrons on Patreon for supporting us here. They make these videos possible, and we really do appreciate the support. If you're interested, go to patreon.com and then Ron Spomer Outdoors, and you'll get all the information to join the Ron Spomer Outdoors Patreon community. Until next time, this is Ron Spomer. Hunt honest and shoot straight.